So I've got a question for you. Take a moment and think, do you have a fear? And if you do, raise your hand. Thank you. Today, I'm standing here and I will begin my speech with basically stripping myself down and talking about my fears. And I'll tell you about my biggest fear that I was for a very long time afraid to acknowledge. I'm terrified of flying. I remember many years ago, I was invited to this very important conference in Portugal. I was preparing for a long time, I did my research, I was ready, and I woke up in the morning, packed my suitcase, went to the airport, and just when I went there, you had to go through typical, checkout, security, things like that. And once I'm there, standing, I froze. My body froze. I couldn't do anything. I had this strange something in my throat that could not allow me to speak. So imagine my body just standing, wasn't able to speak, wasn't able to ask for help, just stood there. And seeing those people passing me by, one after another, and me standing with this suitcase. And in a moment, I saw my plane take off. It took off, taking my dream away. At that moment, I realized I have a fear that limits me in so many different ways. So I have to do something about that. And of course, the question that you might ask me, what is in common between the fact that I'm afraid of flying and I'm a teacher? Every day, I meet so many students, different kinds of students, adults who want to learn a foreign language. And I'm the one who's helping them to do that. And believe it or not, when I ask them, why are you here? Why do you want to learn that language? Why do you want to speak that? They tell me, well, I'm afraid to speak the language. This is the biggest thing. I might know some words, I might know some sentences, but I'm afraid. So how should I conquer this fear? Because it limits me. So I think that the thing that we have in common with all of our fears is that it limits us in different spheres. So today, in order for me to help all of us to unlock at least one fear that we have, I'll try sharing the 5 steps that I share with my students that I believe do help them a little bit to unlock the fear of speaking a foreign language. So as I said, there are 5. The first one is trust. The second one is preparing yourself for the bumps, the ups and downs. The third one is do not push yourselves too much. The fourth, accent, believe it or not, is actually a good thing. And the last one, the 5th, have fun with it. Enjoy the process of learning, and then enjoy the moment when you're actually able to speak in front of others. So let me begin. The first one, trust. What do I mean by trust? I guess that every time that we start doing something new, learning to do anything, we have to trust ourselves that we will be able to go through the process. Because it's long, it takes time. So we have to trust ourselves, acknowledge the fear, acknowledge what cannot allow us to do the things. If we cannot do that by ourselves, then we should find a person who could help us. Maybe a teacher, a friend, a mentor, whom we could trust as well. Every time a new student comes to me, the first thing what I do, I ask them, as I've said, why are you afraid? and they share it with me. There are different reasons. I'm afraid because people will not be able to understand my accent. I'm afraid because my children, where I actually made fun of my accent, they told me never speak in front of others because you sound horrible. So, I tell them, I also have a fear. I'm learning Spanish myself. I'm a language teacher. It should be easy for me. But I'm also afraid to speak Spanish. I'm afraid to speak to natives. So you have to trust, you have to make the bond between the teacher, the mentor, or friend you're working with, and you have to trust yourself. Step number 2, preparing for the bumps, preparing for the ups and downs. I think that all of us understand that nothing in life is always good. There's this excitement period, there's this period when finally we start feeling tired, bored, or there's this feeling that I cannot do that anymore. It's just not for me. So we have to understand, we should understand, that even learning a language, or even the moment when we first try to utter the first words in that foreign language, there is always going to be the first few weeks of excitement, of learning. Oh, I learned something new. There's something new. I can already understand something. And after those few weeks or a month, it depends on the person, there's this critical moment when you want to quit. You don't want to do that anymore. Because maybe you've made a mistake. Because maybe you were abroad and you spoke to somebody and they did not that easily understand you. So there's this first bump. But if you're ready for that, if you know that just like in life, there's a happy moment, there's a not such a happy moment, you'll be fine. So just trust yourself that those ups and downs in language learning, they're normal. They're there. Step number 3, do not push yourself too much. Maybe even to be more specific, do not compare yourself with others. Why? I once had a student, she came to me and she said, somebody told me, one of my friends told me that she learned English in 12 days. Okay. And I've asked her, so does she speak that fluently? Well, how did she learn that? Oh no, there's a special method that helped her. Now she knows those 500 words or something, and she knows English. Well, I said, but maybe she knows the words, but she cannot make a sentence. And after some time, when we talked with her, I said that you should not compare, you should not listen to what others are telling you how they learn the language, because you are unique. The method that applies to you to learning is the unique method. You have to find it by yourselves. And do not push yourself thinking that I have to do that in 2 months, I have to do that in a year, or I have to do that in 20 academic lessons. No, it does not happen like that, because language learning is a process. You do not only learn a language, and even if you want to speak that language with foreigners, you have to learn about the culture, you have to learn about the people. So it's not only about the words. Even if you make a mistake, even if you mispronounce a word, it's fine. But you're showing the attempt, you're showing your effort, and people will always appreciate that. So do not push yourself too much, okay? So we had the 3 steps. Trust, we had the one with ups and downs, and then we had the one with not pushing yourselves too much. Let's move on to the 4th one. Accent is a good thing. Let me tell you a secret. Lithuanians do not have accents speaking any foreign language. This is something that it has been a myth. When people come to me and they say, but I have this Lithuanian accent, what is that? Does anyone ever in the world have ever told you that? I think you sound Lithuanian. Nobody has ever done that. So while you're learning and you're trying to pronounce the words, it's fine how you pronounce them. And again, if you're making a mistake, if something is not in your head, typically when you try to compile a sentence in that foreign language, what happens to you? You think that you're speaking fluently, no accent, nothing. And then when you actually have to do that, ooh, maybe there's, an accent there, maybe there's mispronunciation, but that doesn't matter. Nobody cares about that. French people speak in English. I mean, sometimes it's even difficult to understand them, but they don't care about that because it's unique. You are unique, and how you speak that language, it's something which is part of yourselves. So yes, accent is something that nowadays is very highly appreciated. Step number 6, enjoy what you're doing. As I've mentioned before, learning a language, it's a long-term process. It does not happen in a day. Nothing happens in a day. So, especially when you're learning as an adult, it will take more time. And if you only focus on textbooks, if you only focused on drilling grammar rules and not having any fun with that, it will never stay in your head. Because we, as adults, we learn, we get new things only when it's fun, only when we enjoy it and we're happy with it. So typically when we have the lessons with my students, what do? We celebrate every little victory. Maybe they learned finally the irregular verbs. Maybe they finally, know how to compile a very well-advanced sentence. We eat cupcakes. We eat chocolate cakes. We have coffee together. We enjoy and we celebrate every little victory that they have. This is what you should do. Just let yourself go and enjoy the fact that you're in this journey of learning the language, and the outcome is finally not being afraid to speak it. So I've met many people working as a teacher, and as I've said, there are many of them fear a lot of different kinds of things. And I remember my grandfather, may he rest in peace, he never spoke Lithuanian. And we as kids, my brother and my cousins, sometimes, even when he tried to utter a Lithuanian word, we as kids would sometimes make fun of his mispronunciation or, how he tried to make the sentence. Now, as an adult, I understand that, that was a huge mistake. He was trying to speak the language, and he was putting in effort. So do not listen to what others are telling you, and as I've said, enjoy it. So let's recap the steps that I've just told you. The trust yourselves or the person you're working with. Be ready for the ups and downs, the bumps. The third one is just not pushing yourself too much. The fourth, about the accent, there's none. And the fifth is enjoying the process. So I would be a very bad teacher if I would not apply those steps on myself. And as I've told you, one of my fears is to speak Spanish, although I have an amazing teacher and we have been working with him for some time, but I've never, ever spoken Spanish. So what I've done, I've tried to apply the steps. I've tried having fun with it. I've tried not caring about my accent because it's dreadful in my head. And I trust myself that I can do that. I definitely will someday learn Spanish the way I want to speak Spanish. So today will be the first time in front of all of you, in front of this big audience, that I will try to utter at least few Spanish words and just enjoy that. and I think prove myself and to all of us that it's possible. So, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Brigitta y yo soy una profesora de inglés y yo soy feliz aquí y mi mensaje por nosotros, nosotros no tengamos miedo de hablar. What I've just told you, that my messages, and you've seen I was nervous, that was my first time, but but it's possible. So just unlock any kind of inhibitions, any kind of fears you have, and just do it. And believe me, you'll enjoy that. Thank you.